Okay, folks, I hope you enjoyed your little reading assignment there. And hopefully you wrote a few things down about metals, metalloids, and nonmetals. That would have been good of you to do that. What exactly things maybe should you have written down? Oh, let's see. Well, metals, they are good conductors, aren't they, of electricity and of heat. They are ductile, whatever that means. Ductile or ductile means that they can be drawn easily into wires. And malleable is another term that you probably saw in there. When things are described as malleable, it means they can easily be bent and shaped and even pounded in thin sheets. And metals are usually shiny. Now, nonmetals, on the flip side there, they aren't good conductors. They are not good conductors of heat or electricity. They usually are not very flexible or malleable, and they also are usually not very shiny. So they're polar opposites, really. And of course you have the semiconductors there. And what do you notice about semiconductors in terms of characteristics? So they do share some properties with nonmetals, but they also share some characteristics with metals. So those are the three main categories of elements you might find on the table. Now I'd like to go back and mention one thing I forgot up here. So when we were talking about the groups and the, well, I say we, isn't that funny? So when I was talking about the groups and the periods on the table, and I mentioned that there were 7 different periods on the table, one thing about these periods is that each of those rows across the table stand for an electron energy level in the cloud. So these values here, these numbers that we have, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Each of those numbers, 1 through 7, are indicating to us which energy level the elements of that row are having electrons added to as you go across the table from left to right. So as you see, when we had talked about these numbers here, like the 1 and the 2, hopping across here to the 3, and you would have seen a 4 here and a 5 here as the valence number. Those numbers obviously are getting bigger as you go across the table from left to right, going from a 1 all the way up to an 8 on the far right. So those numbers are more than just valence numbers. They're showing us that level 4 in the cloud is getting filled as you cross the table from left to right to finally end up with an 8 on the far right. So the periods aren't just rows. They also symbolize electron energy levels in the cloud. Very important. So not only do families have the characteristics they have as vertical groups or columns in the table, the periods across the table have significance in that the electrons in their energy levels increase from left to right across the table in those periods.